As I begin this talk, I ask everyone to please indulge me for a moment. But before anything, I want to give a trigger warning for those who have experienced natural disasters, as I will try to emulate what our survivors went through. With that said, I kindly ask everyone to please close your eyes and imagine the scene as I try to describe it. You are awoken by the sound of waves, howling, screaming, windows banging as loud as gunshots, rain hitting the ground like rocks. You think you are safe because you're within the four walls of your house. A house where you had your first steps, your first birthday, and many other firsts and milestones. Suddenly, water leaks in. The safety that you felt, you realized, might have been an illusion. Water enters, and it enters, and it enters, and every second that passes, you wish for it to stop, but it doesn't stop. You hold on. No, you grip your mother's hand as if to ask for assurance that you will both make it through the storm alive and breathing. The water keeps going and going and going and going higher and higher and higher until it reaches your waist, then your shoulder, then before you know it, the current forces you to let go of the tight grip hand of your mother, and now you are swimming for your life. The storm passes, and by a stroke of miracle, you realize that you're alive. You think hell is over, but really, hell has just begun. Your house full of memories ravaged by the rage of the storm. You try to scout through the rubble, but all you can find are your things disintegrating from the dark, murky water that touched it. You find yourself naked. It feels like a rebirth, if you will, as though you are Adam, you are Eve, reborn into a world unknown. You try to look for usable clothes, but all you could see is this piece of dirty curtain. This will do for now, you think to yourself. You cover yourself with it as best as you could. You go outside and you see dystopia. The sari-sari store beside you, your neighbor's houses now flattened. You wander the streets and you see a lifeless body, then another, and another, and another. You are desperate to look for your mother, your family members, hoping and praying to the highest of the highest beings that you don't see them lifeless next to the thousands of other bodies aimlessly scattered along the street. Then, more bodies. Walking against and alongside you are people wandering with zombie-like stares, looking for food, looking for shelter, and for many, desperately searching for their lost loved ones. No friendly greetings, no laughter, no smiles, no happiness in sight. No one knew if tomorrow would be better. Now, I ask everyone to please open your eyes. The situation that I just described to you, this is not a fictional situation. The audio you heard is taken from an actual recording during the onslaught of Super Typhoon Yolanda, internationally called Typhoon Haiyan. The narration is composed of the various lived experiences of Mona, Jeneline, Boboy, Zosimo, Mary Joy, Rosie, Roland, Dolpo, Charity, Roy, Senya, Dayan, and countless other Typhoon Yolanda survivors. Super Typhoon Yolanda in 2013 affected 14 million people across 44 provinces. Tacloban City, the capital of Leyte, was one of the most severely devastated areas. It left 1,800 missing, and casualty counts differ across sources but range from 6,000 to 8,000 fatalities. Now, look at the person in front of you. Look at the person beside you, to your left, to your right. Look at the person behind you. And imagine all of those people are casualties of the super typhoon. Count the people in this room, count the capacity of this room. That's not even close to half of the casualties of Super Typhoon Yolanda. But despite and in spite all of that, the survivors, they got up, they rebuilt, and they recovered. Establishments were restored, houses reconstructed, livelihood regained, and before you know it, the city was back to its tip-top shape prior to the devastation of the super typhoon. The survivors, they fought for their lives and they plodded on. They pushed the path that fate had decided for them, and they tried to yield their own. They made a life out of lifelessness. And for this, the survivors were dubbed and honored as resilient people. But then, Typhoon Glenda came in 2014 with strong winds, a couple of hundred fatalities, and millions worth of damages. Again, people survived, they got up, they recovered, they rebuilt, and they were dubbed and honored as resilient people. Typhoon Ompong came in 2018 with strong winds, close to over 200 dead, and millions worth of damages. Again, people survived, they got up, they recovered, they rebuilt, and they were dubbed and honored as resilient. Typhoon Ulysses in 2020 flooded and devastated Cagayan de Oro City with over 100 fatalities and again billions worth of damages. But the people, they survived, they got up, they recovered, they rebuilt, and they were dubbed and honored as resilient people. Typhoon Odette ravaged through Visayas, ending with hundreds of fatalities and billions in damages. Again and again and again and again, people, they survived, they got up, they recovered, they rebuilt, and they were dubbed and honored as resilient people. Being a country situated in the Pacific Ring of Fire, the Philippines has always been prone to typhoons. Yet here we are, one strong typhoon, one natural disaster after the next, with a cycle of destruction, survival, repair, destruction, survival, repair, destruction, survival, and repair. And for each one that hits, we have people whose houses are destroyed, we have people whose livelihood is taken away, and more importantly, we have people whose lives are lost. And I reiterate once more, throughout all of this, spectators would be so amazed at the toughness of the survivors, so much so that the survivors are always praised as resilient after each calamity that hits them. Here, we see that resilience has now turned into a laurel, an award, a badge of quote-unquote strength, as though it was a consolation prize for the disaster that just ravaged through their lives. Mostly with good intention, it's meant to make the survivors feel good about what they went through, as if it was their choice to go through everything in the first place. Now to you all, I pose these questions. Is this what resilience truly is? Is it simply the ability to get up, to survive, to rebuild, only to weather another storm? Is it just about the ability to comply with the cycle of destruction and repair? Why are survivors given this unsolicited award when in reality, the choice is only between resilience and death? Resilience, as defined in the dictionary, means the capacity to withstand or to recover from disturbances or from difficulties. In our country, if there is an impending typhoon, we transfer residents in danger zones to schools and basketball courts that double as their evacuation centers. After the typhoon, relief packs of the usual canned goods, noodles, coffee, used clothes, and the like are distributed. And for the more intense typhoons, sometimes housing, sometimes livelihood is provided by organizations for those who were distraught. But When we examine these basketball courts, when we try to examine these schools, we realize that they are not equipped to be used as evacuation centers. When we look at the houses provided, we realize that some of these are located so far from the livelihood of the survivors that they have no choice but to go back to their original locations within the danger zones. Now, I'm not saying that all of these are done with malice. Most of the time, they are not. Humans are creatures of habit, and these are results of ideologies and systems that have been running for ages. Rather, I am saying that we must strive to go deeper. We must push to be better. Now, at this juncture, allow me to share with you stories of Super Typhoon Yolanda survivors. This is Senya. She and her family survived Yolanda only for her husband to be taken away by another typhoon years later. In this quote, she recounts her experience in the evacuation centers, how crowded it was, and she shares how she even saw people making love out in the open, and how there were also perverts peeping in the comfort rooms of the said centers. We have Mona, who is a mother of 2 children. After Yolanda, she was awarded a housing unit in one of the resettlement sites. She lamented on the sturdiness of the said housing units. And she shared how she's afraid that the house might cave in whenever earthquakes occur. Next, there's Boboy, and then there's Zosimo. They are both fishermen who were also awarded with housing units. Boboy shares that as a fisherman, he doesn't exactly like living in the resettlement area because this is largely inaccessible from his source of livelihood. Zosimo shares the same sentiment, even choosing to go back and live in the danger zones just to continue fishing. Mary Joy is a community leader, and she shares that really a primary focus on the livelihood assistance wasn't given in the post-disaster recovery. The ones provided came in spurs, and even then, they weren't fully effective. She hopes for livelihood assistance to be more sustainable and to be more decent. Charity, a person with disability, laments that he felt like PWDs were not given focus throughout the whole process of recovery. Roy hopes for there to be more psychosocial support outside of the usual relief goods. Now, these are only a handful of probably millions of stories across many typhoons and natural calamities. And I want to drive the point that resilience should not just be about transferring to an evacuation center, rebuilding and providing housing assistance, or giving and receiving relief goods. It's not just about finding new work. It's not just simply about surviving. True resilience must go above and beyond all of these. It strives to go beyond unsustainable surface-level solutions. Evacuation centers should be equipped to be evacuation centers, preserving the dignity and the safety of the people. Housing units should go as far as ensuring that it could weather future calamities like earthquakes, so you don't have to rebuild again after every disaster. Resilience is not simply about choosing the locations for such housing units, but it should also consider the relocatees' opportunities for work. Livelihood assistance should not be given for the sake of being given. It should be sustainable. It should be decent. Rehabilitation and recovery should not just be about physical needs, but should also consider psychosocial support and the needs of other marginalized groups, such as persons with disabilities. Now, ultimately, resilience is accountability. And by this, I mean that resilience must go as far as ensuring that what happened before won't happen again, or at the very least, won't have the same degree of destruction. True resilience makes sure that people know what they did wrong, and they own up to those lapses, and they work to be better. They work to have less houses destroyed, less livelihood impaired, less dreams taken away, and more importantly, less lives lost. Climate change, it's real, and it is only getting worse by the second. Every year, we experience stronger and stronger typhoons, more extreme temperatures, and more natural disasters. We will not be saved by good PR. We will not be saved by Band-Aid solutions. We won't be saved by simply doing what we have been doing. Rather, we have to reflect, we have to reinvent. What can save us is tangible, well-researched, well-planned action. True resilience is about proper, effective, efficient disaster risk reduction and post-disaster management. True resilience is about making sure that the situation that I described at the beginning of this talk, the damage that the survivors experienced, is not ever again experienced by our kids and the kids of our kids. Now, I myself am a Yolanda survivor. This advocacy was born out of a personal frustration of the cycle that we have and we still do experience. Something needed to be done, something needs to be done. And so after years of developing the concept, I was able to recruit 5 other talented individuals to the advocacy. The team and I created this book called Resilience Redefined, which tackles exactly the question of what true resilience is. And it does this through exploring the stories of loss, survival, and hope of 12 Yolanda survivors. And these are the narratives that I shared with you today. I understand that this advocacy might not exactly have the widespread change that I wanted to have right away. But I hope that little by little, person by person, I encourage people to reflect on harmful systems and ideologies that are so deeply ingrained in us. Now let me end with the last few paragraphs in the book that I hope could properly conclude this talk. And I quote, "As the last page of this book is flipped, it is hoped that one sees the underlying reality, that resilience is not a crown or laurel one parades around for everyone to see. It is the scars after emerging from a grueling battle, the outcome of surviving and learning from catastrophes nobody wanted in the first place. We should not be patting ourselves on the back and be content that 100 survived. Rather, we should be questioning why the other 1,000 did not make it in the first place." And as the last word is read, it is hoped that the point was properly carried across. Resilience is not simply an award to be achieved. It is a concept with deeper significance, struggling to be redefined. Now, I ask everyone to close your eyes again, and please recall the imagery of the situation I was describing earlier at the beginning of this talk. This time, I want you to imagine the opposite of that. The streets are full of life, full of hope. And as the storm passes, you untighten your grip on your mother and you over your head. Your things are right where they should be. You go outside and all that's scattered are leaves on the streets. No flattened establishments, no lost loved ones. Every person you come across happily greets you because all of you survived. Thank you everyone for your time.